Hi everybody! So this is your Zoom art lesson and today we're going to be learning about sketching. Now I know some of you might know how to sketch, but some of you I know don't. So first things first, I'm sure you've got a piece of paper and I'm sure one of your lovely teachers has given you a pencil. So first things to remember is when you are holding a pencil to write, we pretty much hold the pencil like this, quite tightly and quite close to the point. And that gives us control over the letters. But when we're sketching, we hold the pencil much further up, like this, and much more loosely. And that makes it far easier to sketch. And if you're sketching, you're kind of moving your hand around by your wrist. Whereas if you're writing, you just focus on your fingers. So try and hold your pen like this, nice and loosely, further up the top bit. And then just practice moving it around like this, nice and floppy, and arcing it so you're getting lots and lots of movement out of it. The big difference between writing and sketching. And when you're sketching, you do loose lines and arcs and circles, lines like this, but it's all about the fluidity, big word, isn't it? The looseness and the way that your wrist and your fingers move together. So I'm going to do a little bit of a lesson, and it's quite tricky when you're sitting at a table in your living room. So what I've done is I've set up my light board, and hopefully that is going to give you a little bit, you're going to be able to see it a little bit better. So today, you're going to be drawing a dragon's eye, and it's all going to be based on the book that you're reading in class. So first of all, don't worry about creating perfectly single line shapes. And by that I mean, if you were drawing something with single lines, you might think about drawing an eye like this and getting it right immediately. And if it's not right, you might whip out your rubber and say, oh, that's not right, I have to start again. That's not what we want in sketching. What we want in sketching is something much, much more fluid. So we do lots and lots of lines. Remember how we're holding our pencil nice and loosely from the wrist? We do lots of lines in a sketch, and we form the shape of something with lots of those lines. So I'm not drawing a picture of your dragon. I'm sure your teachers will have a picture of your dragon to show you. But I'm just going to do a nice big eye, like this. Nice big pupil. Now, in sketch, with anything really, I mean, when you're learning, like hopefully you're going to be learning today, it's best to use pencils. But when I'm sketching, I use anything. I use biros, I use felt tip pens, I use marker pens, pretty much anything. And you use smaller lines to build up your shape. Might look a little bit like I'm just scribbling, but I hope you can see using this light board that with all these little loose movements of my pencil, I'm building up, giving you a rough idea of the shape. And you build up that shape until you can capture what you're looking for in your final piece. Just switch my board up. There we go. So we don't want one single line with a sketch. With a sketch, we want lots and lots of lines as I say, to build up the shape that you're after. Now, when you're happy with the shape that you've drawn, I'm quite happy with that. I think that looks reasonably like an eye. But remember, there's no such thing as perfect in art. I can draw things lots and lots and lots of times, and I can go over the lines that I make lots and lots of times until I'm really happy with what I've got. I've just learned over years not to just get a rubber out every time I make a bit of a mistake. I just go over it and work it into what I'm doing. But when you've got a shape that you're happy with, I'm going to use a felt tip pen now because I think it will be easier for you to see it on here. So once you've got a shape that you're kind of happy with, then go over it a bit darker with a softer pencil so that you've got the shape outline that you're looking for. Like that. Now pencils are graded, and they're graded from H through to B. Now, the pencils that you use in school are pretty much HBs, and that's right smack bang in the middle of hard and soft. And a hard pencil, an H pencil, creates a very thin, pale line. And those pencils are mostly used for things like architecture and technical drawing. And if you need a really, really precise, thin, sharp line. But if you're drawing, then you kind of go over the other way towards the Bs. So HB, as I said, is right in the middle. And then you go B, and then 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B. And the higher the number, the softer the pencil. So as you're drawing with a really soft pencil like a 6B, you'll find that the lines that you're making are much, much darker, and you can get a much darker shade. So as you go on learning to draw and you're shading more and more, you'll find that you're using your soft pencils much more than you are your hard pencils. Right. There's also different ways to shade. So, with your pencil, if you're shading something in, I've just done some examples here, but I'm not sure if you can see them very well. This here, if you just do lines like this, and you're going to shade something in like that, that's called hatching. But if you do hatching and then go over the top of it in the other direction, you see the effect that you're getting. You can build up quite nice edges and get a nice loose shading from doing that, and that's called cross hatching. So you're hatching and then going across it in a different direction. One way and then another, and that's quite a nice, quick way to shade. Another sort of shading is contouring, and you might have had to go at this in class. And contouring, you really need one of the softer pencils, so a B upwards to a 6B. And if you're contouring, you start dark, and then your shading gets softer and softer and lighter and lighter, like that. And that kind of gives you a contour effect. And if I go dark again, I build it up to a slightly darker colour. See, that gives you an effect of a contour. And that might look like an arc, because the middle section is lighter than the other section. So it gives it life if you're contouring something. Contouring is mostly used if you're drawing spherical things like apples or balls or things like that, you often find that you'll use a contouring style of sketching and shading. Another way of doing it is stippling. And stippling, I guess, is a little bit like pointillism. So if you do a lot of dots close together, then you get a darker effect. So if I use a felt tip, if I do lots and lots of dots close together, like that, then that area is shaded quite dark. But if I spread out my dots a bit further away, then that looks much lighter. So dots close together, but darker, and dots further away and sort of spread out a little bit more, they look lighter. And another one is smudging. Now, I've only got a HB pencil here with me at the moment because actually all my pencils are at school. But smudging is when you use, again, you use a nice soft pencil, a B up to a B6B, and you're shading something in and you want a really light smudged effect, and you just use your finger. So this pencil won't smudge very well because it's an HB, which is the middle, hard and soft. But a little bit like you might use chalk pastels. You can smudge your shading like that. So, the only thing left for me to tell you, we'll go back to this dragon eye, is whatever you're drawing, you need to find your light source. So, if you're looking at my eye, then you'll see my light source. I'm just going to shade that in a little bit because that's the pupil and that's dark. So my light source is here. And if you look at someone in the eyes, you can often see a little pin of light where the light is shining on their eyes. And it's actually quite easy to see if you look at cartoon drawings because they exaggerate those pins of light. So on this dragon's eye here, the light is shining onto his eye right here. And I think when you're doing any sort of sketch, if you're drawing a piece of fruit and you're drawing a piece of fruit, let's look at an apple. So I don't mind that I'm doing lots of different little sketchy lines because I want to be sure I've got the shape right. That's the shape of an apple. Now, if my light source was there, so that's where the light was shining onto the apple, then we know that this side of the apple is going to be bathed in light. So this side of the apple is going to be the darkest side. And I'm just hatching there, look, using a felt tip pen. So that's the darkest point of the apple. Then I'm going to use hatching, but I'm going to contour. So I'm going to go a little bit looser. My lines are a little bit wider. So that is starting to give you the shape of the apple. Also, if you've got a light source shining onto your object from this direction, there's going to be a shadow in this direction. And that's where the apple is sitting on the table. So whatever you're drawing, whether it's something that's made up, something like a dragon's eye, You're making up a dragon's eye, and you're going to use your head to create this, and you're going to think about where the pupil is and the iris, which is the coloured bit of your eyes, and where the light is shining. Or if you're drawing something from life, which is very important to learn your skills of drawing, so a piece of fruit or some flowers, always remember your light source, because it will make a big difference to the drawing that you do if you capture where the light is hitting the drawing. And always remember the shadow, and always remember the lighter and the darker part of the object. So there you go. Your teachers are there to help you. They'll be fine. And I'm going to pop in and out of some lessons to give you all a little tip or two if I can. So enjoy it. Don't be too hard on